Happy Sunday to you guys. Gosh, I thought it was Saturday all morning. My weeks are a little discombobulated. Days, whatever. I hope you guys are well. I hope everybody had a good week. My house is still quiet, so Sam and I took off for our walk about 6:30 and watered some of the plants. Oh, Sam, yeah. So now we're settled down, and we'd been talking about this and bringing it up, so I decided to do a video on it since I had gotten a few more comments about it. The disclaimers are in the video description. As always, this is for educational purposes, and it is being used under the Fair Use Act of 1976. I am not a doctor. I am not a legal professional. So please seek that type of counsel at your chosen professional. All right, let's get to it. So this is rather personal to me. I told you guys when I started reading the Bible for myself, it really almost does act as we're told, like a grimoire or a book of shadows does. Now, please, again, I'm pulling commonalities together here. I'm not trying to say that anything is something other than what it is. I'm just making some observations about words and the power that they have, regardless of how they, well, maybe not regardless, but when they are written down and spoken aloud, they seem to have power, and especially if they are used in the proper way, in a proper order. Our Creator is an orderly Creator. There is some type of hierarchy. If you don't like the idea of a hierarchy, think of different job assignments for different groups of people and beings. Again, my goal is not to not offend anyone. It is not to offend anyone. It is not to, exclude anybody. I do come from a Christian paradigm, but that doesn't mean that is the only lens we are looking from. And it does seem like a lot of our research either ends up in cannibalism, with Freemasonry and the LDS Church. So we're seeing a lot of things, a lot of the spokes of the wheel kind of tie together. And so this one is rather personal. I still haven't done the rest of my testimony on this channel. It is hard to talk about for me. But suffice it to say, a loved one of mine has had tooth problems since we met. And the longer we have known one another, the worse that has gotten. And they now have dentures at a very young age, probably in the early 30s. If I counted back, it might be exactly 33 for that person. My mother had beautiful teeth. She was a beautiful woman until she went away for a short period of time in my life, and came back and ended up getting remarried, and she had a lot of tooth issues, and I did not know her to be a user of narcotics or anything like that. I do realize people drink pop. I've worked in the medical industry. I've seen dentists myself. I get it. This is from, you have to step out of your worldly paradigm and be willing to learn from a different viewpoint for a little while. And again, I'm not seeking to turn anyone into New Age. I'm not trying to say, hey, go use this occult information for wickedness. I'm saying there are things happening in the world, and let's see if we can't break those down and figure out where they're coming from and why they are manifesting in the way that they are. Now, I never read the Bible until 2017, and of course, looking back, I'm like, wow, this actually has relevance to me. When my testimony started and that person came around and taught my husband tattooing, and that is the person who told me they were a fallen one right after I got back from Florida. Nobody else was around, of course, when they told me this. They asked for permission to, quote-unquote, come in. I thought it meant to my dwelling place. I don't know exactly what it meant. At that point in time, I have a little bit of lost time. That's why my testimony is hard to pull together sometimes in that time frame. However, That person, while they were coming around, ended up having tooth problems and was using, like, would bring, like, this, like, over-the-counter dental kit and use it all the time at my house. And my husband's old high school chum, as he was hanging around, ended up, his tooth literally broke off in his mouth one day as we were all hanging out. And I'm like, wow, what is going on with all these people? And then I read this, and I know this is going to sound weird to a lot of people, okay? I get it. But it's been coming up a lot, so let's take a look at it and let's see if we can find out any new information together. I did do a Google search and a DuckDuckGo search. This is the Psalm, and this is the Catholic version. If you highlight it, it will let you compare versions. But it says, I will not fear the thousands of people surrounding me. Rise up, Lord, save me, my God, for you have struck all those who oppose me without cause. You have broken the teeth of sinners. Now, if you click on compare, it will bring up the KJV version, the versions that I use the most. And so these are the two that we look at the most. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for thou hast smitten all mine enemies upon the cheekbone. Thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongeth unto the Lord. Thy blessing is upon thy people. Selah. Now again, let me preface this. I know people are attached to the KJV. I have personal issue with it because of how much it physically looks like a book of shadows. I studied the occult. My mother introduced me to it at a young-ish age. I didn't know there was anything wrong with it. The supernatural was a daily part of my life. Not meaning that we did tarot cards all the time or anything like that. Just the books that were around the house. And she did introduce me to seances at one point in time. I've told all this. I don't want to go over it again. Point being, I'm telling you that because, number one, you have a right to know who you're listening to. I come from a place of knowledge and experience in these matters, and I only hope to bring you a little bit of knowledge in the way that we are told my children perish for a lack of knowledge. We need to be as wise as the serpents, but as blameless as the dove, okay? Hey, guys, good morning. Thanks for getting the chat going there, Michelle. You let me know that it's working. That's awesome. It's nice to see you as always. I hope you're both blessed this weekend. Okay, so I'm glad you guys are here. That's awesome. So again, I know a lot of people who have teeth issues, and a lot of them are my loved ones. I was a nurse aide. I took care of people's dentures. But I also saw people at a very old age who, myself included, I don't really have these problems. It doesn't seem to matter what I eat or drink, what substance I put into my body. Not saying that that's a good thing, okay? Again, just because I look at something or I tell you something, usually it's as a cautionary means to say, hey, this is out there. Just like the snake in the yard story. If you go out in the yard and you see a snake, are you going to go back and tell your best friend that that snake is there? Or are you going to let her leave your house and get bit by that snake? See, my enemies, the people who rounded about around me when all this was going on, and trust me, they didn't say, hey, it's me, it's me, it's me. It's not how these people operate. They leave little signs and signals, and it's in the things that they say, the odd little nuances. Interesting topic. Definitely something with the teeth. Haven't seen anyone cover this except for you. Thank you. That's awesome. I know, and it's so awesome. Like, I'm seeing people get back to the eclipse now, and it's so sweet to know that, like, we were the first people who started putting that together with the injectables and just looking back at, like, the NASA balloon drops and stuff during the eclipse. We're the only channel that really dug into that, but now to see it, like, coming to the forefront and people are actually looking at it again, it's encouraging, right? It makes us feel a little better. Yeah. It's awesome to have you here, Michelle. Thanks for being here. So again, please don't be offended if you are one of the people who has issues like this. But is it meant to be assigned to you? Possibly. Possibly. Remember, there's always repentance, and there's always forgiveness. But you have to ask for forgiveness to be forgiven. Now, my enemies, they did not say, it's me, it's me, it's me. They did not wave a flag. Some of their information was made available to me through social media suddenly. People, it's just very hard to explain. I can't even, they tell you in a way that you'll understand, and that's how I know this is supernatural. It's because mankind, most people, most human beings that I know don't think this way. They don't operate that way, and honestly, they're not that organized. Mankind is free-willed and free-spirited at the root, and these beings operate strictly by legalities. And these things in God's word can affect them. And this is one of the things that made me look at the Bible and sit in a whole different way and say, okay, there's something here. And Psalms are supposed to be songs, but they're written a lot like spells. I'm not saying, again, that the Bible is witchery or anything like that. I'm saying that our generation was taught wrong. We were taught the wrong definitions of words, like you're seeing now happen in society and happen in the public and in the media, how words are being used in a different manner. And simple words like man does not mean man anymore. Woman does not mean woman anymore. I'm saying basics, fundamentals, bare bones. We were taught differently than when things were written. And it was done by design, so we would not have an understanding for it. I believe God gives us each a special lens to see things through. And if we share the way we're seeing it, we can learn new things, and we are able then to, I don't want to say fight, because it's not a physical fight, right? This is all spiritual. Christ didn't go around slaying his enemies with a literal sword. He did not do that. Okay, so lost, what I punched into DuckDuckGo was lost or missing teeth in, I think, folklore and mythology and demonology. I typed in every word. So missing teeth in folklore and demonology. Okay. Oops. Now what this does, I like this site, but it doesn't give you a whole paper or journal or book. It gives you the abstract, which is basically when you read the back of a book, the summary that's on the back. That's basically what this is, but it's a educational tool. Okay, schools use this, and they publish, they upload their papers to this. That's why I like it, is because you can really have access to information that is more traceable, reliable, and credible than just, here's an internet link on Reddit, we're going to run with it and pretend it's true without verifying it. But again, spiritually speaking, you have to take all things back to the heart, the real heart, not your emotions. Don't get swept away by those. And I'm so proud of myself, and I leery to use the word proud. I'm pleased with myself that the Holy Spirit, every one of those people came into the store the other day, every woman that had literally come at me, but I guess out of jealousy on social media, and I believe for another spiritual reason. I don't know why Satan and his minions come after certain ones of us so hard. But for me, it's probably just simply that I have a big heart, and I speak truth. I don't really have a filter. Whatever comes out is what the Holy Spirit is giving me at that moment. That's why I don't do scripted videos. I will take down notes for studied videos. So here we have, now this one I thought was interesting right off the bat. I did not look at the whole thing. Let me make it bigger for you. Now, I can't get into this because I'm not a student or a teacher, but just reading the beginning can sometimes give you a better search engine phrase. Okay, for example, so a layman might have just typed in teeth in the Bible, and all they would have gotten was information about teeth in the Bible, and maybe only on a certain version, right? This will show us this information. This will show us, like, maybe there are better, older phrases like this, the golden tooth, that we should research or look up in our research that will help us. So let's see what it says. To read William Holmes' account of the golden tooth is to discover that a little knowledge may occasion much speculation about teeth. And it's interesting that we have teeth called the wisdom teeth, and the first thing they want to do is pull them. If they bring us wisdom, why are we pulling them? Not to be weird, right? But seriously. And again, if it is a topic you dig, please consider giving the video a thumbs up It also lets me know if I'm headed in the right direction. But again, I go completely by instinct and heart these days. Samir, Bigfoot is probably just the new name from a troll. And just because of this, renaming it could create more lies, right? So the older version is kind of being overseen or lost, right? And I believe it's possible. What Christ did in his transfiguration, right, is his literal atoms and molecules that created his physical body rearranged themselves, healed themselves, restored themselves, and even made themselves better, right? And so it's very possible that some of these beings appear in our most fearsome image. What do I mean by that? I mean, for example, say Michelle is afraid of aliens, right? If she is alone for a walk in the woods and she's kind of getting creeped out, the hair on her arms and neck is standing up, the first thing that enters her mind that scares her is going to be an alien. And if these things are telepathic and you send out an image of an alien, that's what it will appear as to bring you fear. Now, I'm not saying all these things. There are some flesh and blood, I believe, supernatural beings, but I do believe that if you are working in a proper order in the way that we're supposed to be spiritually and physically evolving, transfiguration, transmutation is supposed to be something we were able to do and should be able to do still. So just a little tidbit for you guys. Okay, so what else? A report that a golden tooth had grown in the place of a natural double one. Hold there. Now, we did look up Nephilim lore, and we found a game, an online game. It was really cool, but it gave us a lot of information about Nephilim. And I also have the Angel series books. Remember the one that Amazon wouldn't deliver to my house, so I had to order from somebody else. We also found information in there about the Nephilim. And I believe that the Nephilim, one branch of the Nephilim is Bigfoot, and I believe that the mark of Cain is the hair, because one of the verses goes, I shall give you the mark of Cain, that way you shall wander the earth unable to die, and man shall see you and see that mark and know not to kill you. Why would man look at something and not want to kill it? Well, usually because it looks human. Most people that talk about Bigfoot, they say they're startled by how human and intelligent it appears, right? And the first thing they would do is lower their gun. Do you see what I mean? So we all these things fit together. Okay. Oh, and one of the myths about the Nephilim is that they have a double rows of teeth, that they don't have just one, they have two. And that's what that guy from Florida who told me he was one of these. Now remember, I didn't read any of the book of Enoch until after all this happened to me. Like I said, God does things in reverse with me sometimes. And I think that's why I see the spirit realm easily, is because my mind operates in the reverse of how everybody else's earthly brain works. I'm operating on a spirit plane. And again, that's my personal niche. Everyone has one. I'm not special because of that. That's just my purpose mode, when my creator made me. Your purpose mode might be healing. You might be able to heal and help other beings to restore themselves and to teach them how to do that. We each have our own thing, and that's why we're kept so distracted too, is so we don't know our own power. So yes, and an interesting story there, one of the people I took care of as an aide, he was not older, but he was, I don't even know the word to use. He was childlike, like a baby, and he had a double rows of teeth. And he liked to put things in his mouth because they bothered him. And allegedly, this one who was coming around and called himself a fallen one in my life, the one who brought the tooth glue and all that with him, he had a double row back there of teeth. Okay? So keep these things in the back of your mind. Start letting these things add up. Learn how to use your subconscious. If you can kind of direct your subconscious while you're going about your day, like say at work or school or whatever you're doing, if you can train your subconscious to have certain things on the back burner, by the time you're done with your work and you can go back to pondering or meditating on something, your mind will have come up with an answer or at least a direction to head in. I hope that makes sense. Again, if this verbiage makes sense to you, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Okay, so a golden tooth had grown in place of a natural double one, inspired a professor of medicine at Helmstedt University to write a history of the golden tooth. He stated, interesting, as a kid I had recurring dreams of losing teeth. It really scared me. Oh wow, that's weird. So did I. That's the next thing we're gonna look up. But yeah, and I used to have a dream book when I was into that stuff. And one of the things it said was if you dreamt about losing teeth yourself, is that you were trying to sort out a problem and you haven't come up with a solution yet. I don't know if I'd go with that. For me, I think it was warning me about what I'm going through right now, but that's just my personal opinion. Okay. He stated that its growth was partly a natural event and partly miraculous, and that the Almighty had sent it to console the Christians. Wow, and I didn't know this was a religious text, so again, let's just go with it. To console the Christians for their persecution by the Turks. So did a Turk have... Okay. Two other professors who published their individual explanations provoked a controversy which Libavius, a very learned man, attempted to settle. He compiled all that had been said relative to this tooth, and subjoined his remarks upon it. It is probable that these medical authorities would have identified the 1590s as a truly significant era in dental history, if they had, before writing their treatise, determined whether the tooth was solid gold. Unfortunately, it was only controversy over whose theory was correct. Of course, everybody was arguing about who was right instead of finding the actual solution, not caring about who was right. And that's the thing. Do we argue? Do we debate to prove that we are right? Is that all we're concerned with? Because if that's all we're concerned with, then we're not actually listening to the other party when they're talking. We're just waiting to talk. So we're not really learning from each other at that point. Just another tidbit. Okay, so this is interesting. Lord passed from one generation to others by folk simpler than these warring professors has been even more diverse and impressive. The range extends from assumptions that teeth provide an index to character. Well, that's interesting. So your teeth, like we say, for example, eyes are the windows to the soul. So your teeth are what? They are a symptom of your spiritual condition, maybe? Right? Okay, let's continue. This lore, teeth provide an index to character through admonition that various rituals beneficial to the teeth be observed. This lore neglects no period of human existence, not even prenatal or postmortem. Ooh, that's interesting. They say the hair and nails still grow after death. Again, I've told you there's a lot of clues about death too. It's very interesting when we looked up the word death in the etymology tool. It wasn't even in the vernacular until the 1800s. Why is that? To be born with teeth is to be born either a curse or a blessing to mankind. Use of this lore appears in Shakespeare's depiction of Richard III as a villain. Mary, they say my uncle grew so fast, the young Duke of York remarks, that he could gnaw a crust at 2 hours old. 'Twas full 2 years before I could get a tooth. Grandmam, this would have been a biting jest. Now, that's true. Some children are born with a full set of teeth as they are born. And then they will lose that set. Oftentimes, they say they are rotten. They're not viable teeth. They're not even viable as baby teeth, okay? That's interesting. So now we have some more information, and the golden tooth, that is something to look up. So let's get out of here. And if anyone else has an idea, please do punch it in. 9 notorious demons that terrorize the ancient world. Now that's because I included demonology in the study. Now here's one. The curious symbolism of teeth in literature and religion. 2021, that'd be about the... No, we started talking about all this in 2019, and I read that particular psalm in this house, so that would have had to have been 2019 or after. Okay. I like to have a timeline for myself, not because I don't even really abide by time anymore a lot. I just, for research purposes, and it helps me to build my own timeline because, again, it's not really something it's weird. I don't know, the more you dig into your spiritual element, the more you see how that's the driver and not the body, right? And so if you're feeding the spirit, the body kind of goes along with that. Interesting subnote, all these people who were my enemies or are my enemies, the ones that I still pray for, mostly women in this area. Maybe it actually, I think, again, I don't know that they know what they do. Some of them absolutely knew what they were doing, a couple in particular. And again, the snake was in the yard, and they didn't just not warn me, they put the snake in the yard and led me closer to it. So, scripture tells us about people like that. I mean, it tells us what their motive operandus is and why they do it. Okay, some of them do know what they're doing. But an interesting note is that I'm not the only one who had a rough few years. They're not looking any better, or what's the word? Worse for wear. They're looking a little rough around the edges. And that's what happens when your spiritual self starts to decay. So does the body. And what is the bread of life that God gives us? Well, it is the word. And why is the word eternal? Because God spoke a word and it brought things into existence, right? So if the earth is still here, God is still speaking. If mankind is still here, God is still speaking. God is always working. I heard someone say, why did God need a rest on the Sabbath? The rest wasn't for God. It was for us. That's him laying out his plan for us, showing us how to walk this out. All throughout history, we've had God showing us and people who've come and shown us who had spirits that were just... And there's nothing wrong with admitting that there are people who are more learned than us, right? That's how we learn. Anyways, let's click on this real quick and see if this is worth delving into. The curious symbolism of teeth in literature and religion. I apologize for Sammy snoring. I'm going to have a sip of my nectar of the gods right quick. Hold, please. Excuse me. Okay. The curious symbolism of teeth in literature and religion. What is the significance of teeth in religion, mythology, and literature? Now remember, we have things like the tooth fairy. Where did that come from, right? Where did that come from, and what happened with that? What is that about? And why do we have baby teeth that just fall out? And they don't really rot, right? They're just pushed out by these other teeth. And I would be willing to bet, because everybody argues over this age of accountability when a child becomes responsible for their own decisions and their own being, and they're held accountable. I would be willing to bet that it's as those new teeth are coming in, that is when that baby or child is responsible at that point in time for, that's that person's, that individual's age of reason. Again, that's just my theory so far. These are things that can be proven out, but again, it does take research and experience. So any stories that you have to share, please, by all means. So there should be a link. Teeth are obviously like the tongue, and this is what is often referred to in the Psalms as well. There is another Psalm, but it's only in the KJV. It only has that verse in the KJV. It's not in the Catholic Bible. I did paste it in the description there, so it's there as well, with the link and everything. Like the tongue, instrumental and essential in oral culture, and so we might expect to find a strong link between teeth and the composition of poems and songs, and sure enough we do. But there are also the symbolic connotations of teeth in works of literature and in various religious and cultural traditions. Sensual symbolism of teeth. Hans Biedermann, it's always the German folks, man. They're all about researching the sensuality of man. The Wordsworth Dictionary of Symbolism, cultural icons, and the meanings behind them. Teeth often symbolize vitality, true, and health, and even in some case, sensual potency. Okay, that's new. Numerous Dickens villains intimidate female characters by flashing their sharp teeth. Hold, please. I think that's just because they're monstrous to the female, right? They're acting like beasts, and beasts have sharp teeth. We have to come at that from that angle too. And how many people here now? I mean, you can get teeth on Amazon. Like literally, that Jeffrey Marsh, I swear his teeth are the ones that pop up on Amazon. Creepy, it's just creepy. But anyways, you can get them anywhere now. Why is this such a big epidemic suddenly? Ask yourself this. And they say, okay, once you, like, for example, if you become pregnant, suddenly you notice all the pregnant people. Or if you drive a white car, you notice all the white cars. I don't think that's the case for what's happening here because there are too many examples of this. Just like the blue light, the LED lights being at 6.66 on the frequency scale. We looked that up. We were the first channel to cover that as well. So be pleased with yourself, guys, that we are being led through these things, and apparently we are in the not just the season of exposure, but now we are in the season of revelation, right? We are having all these literal revelations come to pass, and everyone looks at that book as a bad thing, but it is a spiritual evolution. It doesn't necessarily mean literal fire and brimstone is going to fall. It says the fire of the Holy Spirit falls upon all mankind in the end days. Meaning, at the end of that age, every man will have the fire of the Holy Spirit dropped upon him. Now, whether or not you survive that, because it is the Holy Spirit, right? If you are dark, I imagine it would either take longer to refine you, or, you know, maybe you wouldn't get to move forward spiritually. You know, they call that quote unquote hell. I know hell is also a metaphorical place because I was there for a few years. You guys were with me through all that. So the sharp teeth to me symbolizes beasts. And that's what it says in Revelation 2, that the locust shall come and torment man or God's children and be allowed to do this for 5 months. But after that period, and that they shall come with the hair of man and woman and teeth of lions. That's what it said. And I always liken that to men and women flying drones or fairies. They look human, but, you know, sprites, they actually have a really bad attitude. If you get into the original lore about fairies, some of them did have the sharp beastly teeth too. And so we get into this woo-woo element, and I know that it's hard for some people to get their brains on that track after living in such a visceral way in your everyday lives. And I understand. I've been there. I am there at times. You go on autopilot and you just go day by day. I'm telling you to stop doing that. I'm not telling you what to do. I mean, you're your own person. I think it's best if you stop doing that, recognize that spirit within, and start paying attention to that gut instinct again and allow it to be refined, because we are being assaulted on every side spiritually. And we have to understand that balance is the best way at this point in time, love and forgiveness, and not making any hasty decisions. Okay? Okay, so let's get it. That is from, they're almost a borderline phallic symbol in Bram Stoker's 1897 of Dracula. Yeah, when he bites his victims. Honestly, though, I take that as being more of an example of mesmerism, as they used to call it. Today they call it hypnotism. I believe that's true witchcraft when you mess with somebody's sovereignty like that. Even if somebody agrees to do it, you have no idea what they're going to actually do when they're in there, you know. So anyways, to me, that symbolizes losing one's willpower to another. It's not so much about the teeth. It's about them taking your life's essence and you being powerless to stop them. Okay, and here we go, Michelle's question. And mine, because again, I had these dreams for a period of 2 to 3 years. And that was the same time when I was feeling like I wanted to take a vow of silence. And again, I think that was the wicked one, because everyone and their mother has tried to control the words that come out of my mouth the last few years. And it's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not sorry. It's not going to happen. And I think that's for everybody's best if we just start, take the masks off. It's the end of the Scooby mystery. I'm just concerned that the mask they take off the villains is not going to be the real villains. Sigmund Freud, of course, we know what his mind was always on, believed that if a woman had a recurring dream of her teeth falling out, it signified her unconscious desire to have children. My gosh. And if a man, it was fear of castration. See, now that's just ridiculous. Tooth symbolism in Christianity. In Christianity, Saint Apollonia is the patron saint of dentists because of the grisly nature of her martyrdom, in which her teeth were extracted, though other things were done to her too. She is often shown holding tongs used to remove her teeth. Oh, that's horrid. We have to be careful with the story of the saints too, though. Again, balance. Don't let your emotions carry you away. The Tooth Fairy. I didn't know what to tell my children about this one. Again, it's not something I really wanted to do myself. And so I made up a story that I probably shouldn't have. They were like, what does she use all the teeth for? And I said, well, she needs our help. That's how she built her castle. I didn't know what else to say. Samson. Shh. Shalom, Sammy. Shh. Shalom. Oh, I know. So the tradition of a child leaving the tooth under the pillow for the tooth fairy and then reward it is practiced in various countries, although the identity of this fairy varies from country to country. What does the tooth fairy actually look like? Unlike the Easter Bunny or Father Christmas, the details are sketchy. Hispanic countries, the tooth fairy is a mouse. That's weird. In Italy, a mouse stands for this figure too, also known as Topolino. As early as the Norse Eddas from around 1200 AD, the tradition of a tooth fairy is recorded. Curiously, children's teeth were considered favorable talismans for warriors to wear in battle. That's kind of weird. Wow. The more you learn, huh? And this explains why a mythical fairy was said to come and collect them. Children's teeth held real value in Norse culture. And hold, please. The Norse were Vikings. What did they do? They pillaged and raped. All of them? No. Again, I don't make blanket statements. But allegedly, they were also giants. But one of the saints was also a giant, too, if you pay attention. So again, we have to be very careful. There is no group that is all good or all bad, okay? I do believe there is hope for everyone who is willing to look in the mirror of their own spiritual reflection and fix it. I believe there is work to be done. I don't think that's a dirty word. Some people have made it a dirty word. You believe in works-based salvation. I believe in bettering yourself as a human, like as a spiritual being. I just believe in doing better than I did yesterday. I'm not in competition with anyone else. I don't compete with other females anymore. I regret not being closer to the females that I did have access to. However, look what happened with me just having them in my life. So that could have went either way. But we can't go by what other people do. No matter what happens, we have to walk this out the same if we are truly invested in our spiritual health, but also the health of those around us. Because like we said, the brighter you shine, the more that rubs off on the people around you. Be Christ. Be the Christ that you want people to see. I didn't understand what that meant at first. This is a journey, right? And the more rocks that I climb and the more hills that I get to the top of, the easier it is each time. And I hope that's the same for you guys. And I'm blessed, in case I don't say it enough, I'm blessed and grateful to have y'all here with me. Most of you that are here from the original channel, you are diehards. And we're just here for truth. We honestly, most of us don't care who brings that truth. We just want the truth of who we are as a species, where we come from, so we can make a proper knowledge-based decision about where we're headed, right? Hopefully somebody's still here. Awesome. Okay, so I think, again, this is kind of weird. Ancient Ireland, the Penguin Dictionary of Symbols notes wisdom teeth were symbolic of poetic enlightenment. They are wisdom teeth in more ways than one. See, I've read that too. When I started looking into this for personal reasons, that's also what I read. Ironically, my mother had very, very bad teeth. My father was like me. He when he passed away, his heart and his teeth were still in amazing condition, allegedly. The wisdom teeth in more ways than one. Irish bards used wisdom teeth in a ritual known as, okay, I'm sorry if you're Irish and I butcher this, Tainum Ligda. And yes, I try to pronounce them if I can, because again, I want to learn. Poetic enlightenment. Let's try that again. Is it Tinum or Tainum? Tinum Ligda, which involved the bard biting his thumb with his wisdom tooth before singing a verse and offering a sacrifice to the gods. Teeth and poetry. In his poem, The Smile, William Blake draws attention to the double nature of smiles. There's a smile of love and there's a smile of deceit. There's a smile of smiles in which these two meet. Sammy. Gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Smiles can be false, yeah, and they can be genuine, like a frenemy, right? But the teeth are famously an unreliable guide as to which is which. For that, we are frequently told we have to look to the eyes to see whether the smile is present there. If it is, we have a genuine smile. Aaron Hayward. Hi, nice to have you. Talking of false smiles, and a little-known early poem that remained unpublished until 1996, the great modernist poem T.S. Eliot played on the double meaning of the phrase false teeth. To suggest the smile of a shopworker in the department store cleverly conveys the way this businesslike woman has become her surroundings. She has false teeth and works in the porcelain department of a large department store, while her eyes, like the pencil kept in her hair, are sharpened. So she's, serpent in the grass. I'm just laughing at your dog snoring. It's all good. I'm sorry. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I don't have any aspiration to be popular. I just really dig hanging out with you guys and learning. I read somewhere that teeth act as antennas of some sort. Samson must be in a deep sleep. Thanks, guys. Yeah, his paws were going too. I think he was chasing something. He was chasing a girl or a bunny. Eliot appears to have been fascinated by women's teeth in his prose poem Hysteria. He describes a woman laughing as the male speaker of the poem sits with her in a cafe and becomes involved in her laughter. He seems terrified of her as her mouth gapes open and seems to threaten to swallow him up. Hold please, another reference is the movie The Witches, the newer version. Oh gosh, I forget her name. Anne Hathaway. I think that's who it is. In which when the witches smile with their real smile, their smiles go really wide. Their teeth are pointy like the guy from It, and then their jaws pop backwards and it all opens up almost like a bear trap. That's exactly what it looks like, is a bear trap. So we have more references there, and I gotta be honest, there's someone in our life at this point, kind of. She's the one who I said looks just like my sister-in-law, only, years younger. Talks like her, walks like her, same eye color, same stance, same pigeon toe, everything the same, just years younger. She's young and she almost looks like she's had a little work done already on her lips, and she has that same look as like Lady Gaga, and I did a video on that, and Anne Hathaway, and somebody else. They get like the and I don't know if they get injections there. They say it's from plastic surgery, but I don't know. Are this many people having plastic surgery on their lips that they look that way? And I'll have to find a picture. Aaron actually is good about that. He has a lot of videos, and he will show just a kaleidoscope of images to prove to you guys like that there's something else happening in this realm. And yeah, so there's something weird going on with mouth and teeth. All these symbolic references are alive for a reason. If you think about man and the creation of man, it was done through an alchemical process, if you want to get scientific. And we are elementals. And everything, even the Catholic Church, if you look to the Eucharist and the Mass and communion and how that is, every process, every step is choreographed. It is God coming down to meet man in the horizon. And that's what you see when the wafer is lifted up above him. That is man meeting God, and God's, rays. It's supposed to be an upside down triangle. It's a ray of light coming into the wafer itself. Not all symbolism is bad or wicked. You need to know what you're looking for. And so this, again, is why we're doing this. For whatever reason, after my NDE, symbolism and patterns, like seeing basically computerized patterns, but in nature and around us. After my NDE, those two things went off the hook. Like, I wasn't like this before that. You don't have to believe me. I'm just giving my testimony. Sylvia Plath, she's another writer, arguing that while anything could be viewed as potential subject matter for fiction, there were some things she simply couldn't imagine putting into a poem. The example she mentioned was the toothbrush, although once again T.S. Eliot in Rhapsody on a Windy Night had already shown that it could be done. Nevertheless, teeth seem almost resistant to poetry, and the part of the body most unpromising when it comes to inspiring great poetic thoughts. This is true. Why? Because teeth bite, right? And biting is it's not a good image. Lip lifts are a common thing now instead of injections. Do enlighten me on these common or modern trends, because I know nothing of them. I kind of let God do his work on me. How I look is how I look. If people don't like that, I do tell myself, hey, you're going to look 28 today, not a minute older. Is it going to work? Maybe someday. I'll learn alchemically how to transmute my molecules and such, like Christ did with his resurrection, like God did with Christ. But right now, can I do that? No. Not as far as I know. Let's see. Is there anything else that we can... Ew, okay, that's gross. I don't even want to write that. All right, so we're going to bounce out of here. All right, so we have a little bit in there about religion. We had a little bit about folklore, okay? Teeth are our biographers. They record the difficult paths we have walked. Yeah, it's interesting to note, too, that if someone, fakes their death, a real common thing they used to do is pull their teeth, have their teeth pulled, and then put them in the house where they set a fire or whatever, for example. That's common in crime stories and whatnot. Oh gosh, and I just thought of something else where it's used. Drat, I lost it. I'll get there again. Okay, so let's... The theological demons. List of theological demons. What I'm looking for now, maybe you can help me. You guys know I watch movies and I tell you about them, and I tell you about how, basically what the elites are doing is copying movie scripts at this point in time. Hold, please, wait. Okay. There were a couple stories where they would pull their teeth, and that was somehow the tooth acted as a sacrifice, and you knew how deep somebody was into this cult by how many teeth they were missing, right? So the further in they got, the more, and almost like you hear when people do make these sacrifices or whatever to demonic entities who need blood to operate here. That's why blood over intent is not a good idea. And this is why we're dealing with this mess, because there are things we're not supposed to mess with. And oftentimes you don't mess with something you don't know. It's that simple. If you don't know about it and you don't know the effects that are the ramifications, then you shouldn't be involved in it. There's no excuse at that point. Oh, look at that. Now that came up on its own. So let's check this out right quick. Anything having to do with the Nephilim and teeth, as I said before, this is a big thing. Like I said, Canaan, it was a Nephilim stronghold. And oftentimes I've been told the story by several townspeople, and they even did it at a church. They gaslighted me at a church. This is how messed up this has gotten for me. Something I said to the woman who was taking me to the church, it was my second time going. I said, yeah, I'm kind of a church hopper right now. I'm just checking things out. That's what God told me to do. And the next Sunday we went to church, and the young pastor who had taken over for the new pastor, and it was an evangelical charismatic church, and he was the son, and he was basically the singer, right? And I tell you how that whole denomination, they set up their churches as performance art, like rock bands, right? So you're giving your adulations and your praise to the band and not to God, in that way. Oftentimes, especially when they ask you to speak in tongues, like they asked people to do when I was there. Do not speak in tongues that way. Tongues just meant another language. That's what that meant. It did not mean babble. Again, if you don't know what you're speaking, it's one thing for God to pour something into you and you to speak Hebrew or whatever, but don't just start doing it because somebody else tells you to do this and to babble, because that's not good. But anyways, that's witchcraft in the church. In that church the next time, he said, thank goodness none of us are church hoppers, and we're here, because we are a family and this is our home. And then he told the story of Canaan and Rahab, and that was the story, Rahab and Canaan, that was told to me by the missionaries that first visited me in 2017, 18, when all this started for me. So again, the minions are out and about, and they are in churches. So you cannot get confused just because somebody is in a certain uniform. It does not mean they're a good guy. Just because somebody is on the streets and homeless does not mean they're a derelict, drug addict, bad guy. It's not that easy anymore to define. You can't judge hastily, and you can't judge that way. Okay, that's not judging by the Spirit. So Canaan was a stronghold of Nephilim. Nephilim are giants, allegedly. I believe that's a recessive gene. I don't think they're giants anymore. However, I do believe that they have the same habits. Now, in the other video I did the other day, not a lot of people watched it. It's cool. I get it. I mentioned, oh shoot, I keep losing my thoughts. See, this is what happens. They don't like you talking about this stuff. And I actually do have my head covered. I do those things for a reason, because I found spiritually that they work. It's not just in Christianity. Witches cover their heads. Muslim women cover their heads. Even the Buddhist, where we were reading about how women should tie their hair back because it's like an antenna. It's a spiritual antenna. I think that's why certain people cover their heads, because you are sending out information of your thoughts, right? You're transmitting that. And that's what I said with the reptilians and the hairy Nephilim. Sometimes I believe that they show you what you are the most afraid of. That's why there is no physical proof of these entities up close. However, do they actually exist? Mr. Aaron Haywood has a lot of videos and things on this topic. I'm skeptical when it comes to video. I'm the person, I need to see most things to believe. I don't need to see God to believe, because the proof is all around us. But in that, with certain things like that, I do need to have a personal experience. And I know that they've been pushing reptilians and clones on me. So that's why I'm skeptical of them, is because certain people around me who are not on the good side, I know they're not for a fact. When they push something at me, I push it away. Just like I told you, if something trends in the media, run far away from it. Don't walk, run away. Turn your back to it. That's what we should be doing in Hollywood right now, is turning our back to it. There was a millionaire in my town that walked the streets like a bum in disguise. People caught on after a while. And I think they do this. I think they are masters of disguise. Noses have a lot to do with this too. We are going to do another video about noses and why so many statues are missing the noses. We did that on the other channel, but we're going to do that after this one. And then we're going to do top hats, because they all go together with the illusory power of beings like the Nephilims. Okay. But I believe this is something we all have access. All you got to do is pray to God. Ask him what your niche is, what your gifting is, what your talent is. Meditate on it. And your higher self, God, whatever you call that being you talk with, again, don't let anything in. If it's asking you to come in, that's not a good being. It's going to go against your sovereignty once you let your guard down. Do not let it in. That is a big thing right now. That is a big title in movies. Let me in. They want in. The black-eyed children. Don't do this. I said yes. Don't say yes. Okay, again, my tale is a cautionary tale. I didn't know any of these things until they happened to me first, and then I started doing research to see if what was happening to me could be defined. So that's the proper way to do research. I wasn't expecting a specific answer. I went into it blind, and this is where I've been led, is to things like Nephilim, cannibalism being covered up by two really big churches. You know this. I've shown you the proof of all this. Okay. So here we have, it's giving us all the verses where it talks about the Nephilim. Baruch is really big. Baruch goes along with people walking around that are supposed to be dead. When I do my Walking Dead videos, I've shown you that. So let's see. I want to see if it talks about teeth in here, because that's obviously what we typed in. I know it probably talks about demons and fossil remains. Oh gosh, I forgot what... I found a verse. Oh, in the Essene Book of Peace, guys. I don't know if you guys watch Mud Fossil and how they've all shown how our mountains look like there are giants resting on them and laying on them. I found a verse in the Essene Gospel of Peace. And yes, it's an extra canonical book. It's not in the Bible. I had to buy it offline. There's a verse in there, and if you want me to read it to you, I will. The verse says, it talks about how Mother Earth, how we are made, our bones are the stones of the earth, and they go back to the stones of the earth, and that the proof is in the sleeping ones who lie on the tops of her mountains. Something like that. I just read it last night. I was like, holy cow, that's Mud Fossil. That's a direct reference to what he does. So I had to share that real quick. I'll do a short video on it later and see if anyone's into that. Fossil remains. This is big too. Near New York. Isn't it always New York, Chicago, or LA with this stuff? Or Florida. Anywhere in Florida. Michigan sometimes. Oh, these beings, they always leave the same fingerprint behind, and oftentimes it is, of course, destruction, chaos, pillaging, raping, and polygamy is a really big thing that they push because they want to get man in sin, especially if you're already like in communion with good angels, or they know you have a direct connection with God, that you're one of those people who can do that. They will torment you mercilessly. I know this. I live this. And again, it's not me propping myself up. So, does it talk about their teeth in here? Nephilim were created by the unholy union of angels and demons. Dante's, okay, Devil May Cry. Oh, wow. I didn't know Devil May Cry referred to as Nephilim being the offspring of the demons Sparta and the angel Eva. I didn't know Devil May Cry had them in it. Yeah, Aaron has a few channels. He's pretty... He's deep into it. Again, I'm skeptical about some of it. It has nothing to do with his research personally. I'm skeptical because I need that proof for myself. You know what I mean? Video's funny for me. I've had people do things with my image. I've done things with my own image. So I know how it can be manipulated. Oh my gosh. In the heist theme, first-person shooter Payday 2, several paintings, artifacts, and far-off visuals reference the Nephilim and a secret ending to the game, bringing in alien technology supposedly left by the Nephilim. A creature referred to as Nephilim appears in Season 2 of the Japanese animated series. Do you see how big this is right now? I mean, can we just admit that? Do you see how big they're pushing the Nephilim? Because they want worshipped. They want to be worshipped. They don't want to hide in the shadows. They say Satan hides in the shadows. The Nephilim are different. They don't actually operate that way. If you look back in history, they've wanted to be the attention. They've been attention seekers. And they can't help it because they were giants. And if you look to the stars, right? What is LA? Los Angeles, the lost angels, the fallen angels. They wanted to be stars. They are fallen stars, right? The stars of Hollywood. They are pervasive in our culture because they want that worship. And they know that if they get that worship, that God's not receiving it. Because if you worship them, God doesn't want our worship. Like, and people look at that the wrong way. God wants our companionship and our friendship and our love. Worship is just praise. It is just what you pour out naturally. As a human being, we're made to do that. We clap at the end of a good performance? Don't we sing along with music that moves us? That's worship. That's praise, right? Okay, so this gets into all this stuff. Rephaim, serpent seed, the Titans. Okay, so we know a lot of that. Let's get back to the tooth reference. The strange origins of the dental sprite. Wow, that's new. I've never heard of such a thing. 15 spiritual meanings of teeth falling out in a dream. I had already looked at that, so I don't want to. We're gonna hold this page right here, and I'm gonna go back real quick. Here. So I'm going to click on this because I never heard of that. When children lose teeth in Greece, it's customary to make a wish for the strong adult teeth as they throw their lost baby teeth under the roof, which is thought to bring good luck. Teeth are not only the gateway to our digestive system, they can also be a gateway to deeply transformative inner work and spiritual development. Our teeth act like stoic storehouses, holding on to suppressed or distorted emotional energy. Now that's different. That's dope. I like that one. More about the tooth fairy in the Middle Ages. Okay. What did Mayans do with their teeth? Oh my gosh. Maya dentists drilled holes into the enamel and dentite, then fit the stones and applied a sealant, usually as part of a rite of passage to adulthood. So it's kind of like jewelry for your teeth. No. No. Just like people do the grills now. I'm sorry. I just, no. Cooked wheat dish eaten on this occasion. That's weird. Okay. Okay, and this is the dream one. Teeth falling out meaning a big change. That's weird. Okay. Is the tooth fairy pagan? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, we read that. Why do some Amish groups have their teeth pulled out? Oh, that's weird. Okay, I didn't know that. I really don't want to look at that, though. Hi, everyone. My name is Whitney. Sorry about that. Yikes, that's gross. Is that how they're running searches now? See, I don't like that. Okay. Let's see. Anyone else? Sanskrit. Da da da. Demonology and devil lore. Demons and Satan. The real history of the tooth fairy. I don't want to look at that. Lilith. Okay, now we're talking about Lilith, who's allegedly the first wife of Adam. I don't know that I get down with that theory. Oh, okay, she was banished. But Eve did the same thing. She didn't listen either. Like, so I don't know if you see what I mean? You have to question certain things. Okay, behemoth. All right, now it's giving us different. Okay, so let's try another search. Let's try that. Pulled teeth and rituals. Oh, that's gross. This is a governmental one, too. This is the NCBI. NIH, the National Library of Medicine. Dental ritual mutilations and forensic odontologist practice, a review of the literature. Throughout history of humanity, having healthy teeth has a symbolic meaning of youth, beauty, and strength, but it can also have other meanings. Dental ritual mutilations were documented in many cultures in the past and were practiced mainly for religious rituals, for aesthetic reasons, and because they represented a symbol of status or belonging to a particular social group. Similar rituals are still performed. That's really gross. Okay, that's talking more about identifying a species by their teeth. Okay. A deliberate modification of the shape of the human teeth. Again, some people are said to be born with teeth, and the ones that they're born with are allegedly not viable. They're either beastly or they're decayed all the way through. Women sometimes have ovarian cysts that are said to grow hair and teeth. I don't know that I believe that. It's interesting they call it a cyst or a parasite. It sounds like a baby almost. The intentional, and sometimes twins do that. There's a story about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Kind of this guy, he has like this twin who did not die in the womb but was attached to him, and he like absorbed him, and sometimes at night he would come out and he would live through the back of his head. It's a really grotesque image, but allegedly some of these beings lived because of DNA fiddling. Okay. Now, what I'm actually looking for at this point in time are people who do this on purpose, who pull them out as part of some type of ritual. But I'm looking more, yeah, it facilitates, you see what it says there, facilitates oral bleep. Can I highlight it? You see it? And that's just dumb to me. Why would you pull out your teeth for something like that? That just makes no sense. Let's see. So they're saying it's just a rite of passage into adulthood. No, I'd leave whatever cult that is. Okay, now we're into WebMD. Ew. Hold, please. I'm sorry. When I'm reading like that, check this out. Ew. Knocking out a girl's tooth in a tribe. Oh my, that's horrible. Even after the life force was removed, okay, some tribes would even hold ceremonies to remove the life from the teeth and sever their magical connection to a person. Even after the life force was removed, these teeth were kept away from any other magic so that it could not affect the people they were extracted from. And that's Australians. Rituals involving baby teeth. Aborigine tribes would to ensure rebirth and protect the extracted teeth from rival tribes. Okay, that's weird. Again, but what seems weird to me, I'm not in that culture, so I don't, and cult is just a short word for culture. Tooth extraction. I'm just saying if there's anything here that's related. Yeah, it is gross. That's why traditionally barber. Okay, I don't want to read that. Oh, and I found a few songs that I just have to go over with you guys, because lizards in the sky and all that. Yeah, it's been here forever, the stuff they talk about. Nobody sees it, though. And his teeth, what? Oh, of course, it's the Daily Beast. His teeth sharpened to a fine point. Yeah, I remember reading about that dude. Strange. Okay, so it's been an hour. I'm probably going to end this now so other people will check it out. We do need to get deeper into this, though. So if you would below, or when the video posts, or maybe I'll make a post, comment with a couple viable searches that I can do on this, or do a search and let me know of any links that you find, because what I'm looking for specifically is missing teeth related to demons or related to specific entities that are mentioned. And again, we're looking at this for a reason. We want to find out if David's Psalms, when he asked God to do this, if it's still taking place now, and how to identify that, because it can look different from person to person. For example, Mr. Beast, go check out his channel. Does all these good, great deeds. Check out his teeth. There's no way those things are, I'm sorry, they're not real. And again, God might be giving some of us signs like this because I'm not a good judge of person. I see the best in everybody. I still do, no matter how much is done to me. I keep trying to hate people, and I might for a second, and I'll say something stupid, and then I'm on my knees repenting and praying for that person. So, yeah, that's me. That's me. That's my journey. But if you guys find anything else relevant, please let me know, because this is kind of an ongoing topic. So what's in my head for next is the nose thing, because that actually, the nose is missing on the statues. It has a spiritual meaning, but I think it also has a physical meaning. I'm seeing a lot of people who look very similar today. I don't know if they're using, again, technology doesn't necessarily mean electronic. There's something that they're doing to change their appearance. That's why we've looked into skinwalkers and all that. But this is important. So, because it all goes together, right? So what's next is that, and then the top hats for the illusory purpose. And because, again, it leads to Freemasonry in the LDS Church. It's everywhere, I guess. I don't know. But again, no group is all good or all bad. No one person is all good or all bad. At least not yet. I'm hoping that throughout the last few years, we learn how to spiritually evolve as a species. It does not matter how much money you have in the bank. It does not matter how many things or stuff you have. If you're sitting there alone with all your belongings, you're still alone. And sometimes that's good, but not all the time. People like us should be able to gather. We shouldn't be kept apart all the time. It is kind of ridiculous the lengths they go to keep us separated. But we can talk about the street theater another day. I love you guys. Have a blessed day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.